Hi guys, so in case if you're wondering where I am, I'm at a hospital parking lot. Just dropped my parents off for their COVID-19 vaccine. Now, whilst I'm waiting for them to be done, I'm going to be talking to you about a new Ferrari model that just made its global debut yesterday, the 296 GTB.
Marvelous. Artificial intelligence skin.
Okay, to start with, let's dissect the name of this car. 296 here stands for the fact that this car has a 2,992cc V6 engine. That's right, guys. This is said to be the first Ferrari, the first road-going Ferrari with a V6 engine. Now, some of you may ask, what about the Dino? Well, simply put, back then, at that time, the Dino didn't carry the Ferrari badge. So Ferrari, even though they recognized that car as part of their heritage, it's not considered a full-on Ferrari. So hence why this 296 GTB here is regarded as the first road-going Ferrari model with a V6 engine. So let's talk about the positioning of this car. Now, throughout the whole proceedings, a lot of mention was made on the terms fun to drive and the fact that it has a 50mm shorter wheelbase. I'll elaborate on this later on. That these two facts were repeatedly mentioned throughout the online press conference.
The most fun to drive car in our product range. We reduced the distance between the wheel, a car that reached an incredible peak of fun to drive. Fun to drive has always been a key characteristic of any Ferrari model.
People state it's not possible to measure and to design fun to drive. But this is not the truth. The truth is we can. The third element for fun to drive is the go-kart feeling. The wheelbase is 50mm shorter than on the F8. But obviously, a Ferrari can't be only fun to drive. Best-in-class performance with absolute fun to drive.
The wheelbase was shortened to underscore the car's agility.
Building up to the press conference, the invitation to the conference itself mentioned this as a Ferrari sports car. Now, all this subtly hints at the fact that the 296 is, well, it's positioned slightly below the food chain. Now, as we know, Ferrari segregates its models according to driveline configuration. So we have the front engine V12 flagships, and we also have the mid-engine V8 berlinettas. The 296 here is also from the berlinetta family, so the engine sits in the middle, but it neither replaces nor does it descend from any of the existing model. In fact, it's just a new addition to the berlinetta family. So for the first time in its history, Ferrari is selling 3 berlinetta models side by side. We have the SF90 Stradale V8 plug-in hybrid. We still have the F8 Tributo, which is, well, just V8. And now we have the 296 GTB slotting in with a V6. Oh yes, a V6 plug-in hybrid. So now let's look at the body measurements of the car and the often repeated dimension throughout the whole duration of the press conference yesterday, the wheelbase. The wheelbase of the 296 GTB measures 2,600 millimeters on the dot, which is 50 millimeters shorter than Ferrari's last few berlinetta models, the SF90, the F8 Tributo, the 488, the 458, all had 2,650 millimeter wheelbases. The 296 here is 50 millimeters shorter than the last four of them. The last Ferrari berlinetta model that had a wheelbase close to this was the F430, which had a 2,601 millimeter wheelbase. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the looks of the car, and well, what I like about this design rather is the front end where they have that integrated splitter. The rear, I like how they integrate the centrally mounted exhaust in a very neat flow. If you look at it from afar, from the rear three-quarter perspective, I like how the rear bodywork seems to have a sculpted-like flow to it. So to my eyes, it feels like a more rounded interpretation of the SF90's design. If you remember, the SF90 has a very sharp, very angular, very aggressive look. The 296 here looks more rounded, it looks more gentle, more curvy. Now, as far as I can see, there are no active aerodynamics to this car, but nevertheless, Ferrari has done their homework on this. At 250 kilometers per hour, the 296 GTB is said to generate up to 350 kilos of downforce. So now let's start with the engine. The 296 is powered by a 3-liter V6 twin turbo, and to get one thing out of the way, this engine is completely unrelated to the Maserati Nettuno V6 that was released last year. This is an all-new clean sheet design from Ferrari. Now, one thing is that it sports an unusual 120-degree bank angle. Most V6s out there are either 60 degrees or 90 degrees. 60 degrees actually is regarded as the optimum angle for a V6 for smoothness reasons, but 90 degrees is usually the result by chopping off two cylinders from a V8. That's how they arrive at a 90-degree V6. 120-degree V6 is very, very unusual because of the angle. It makes the engine block rather wide, but Ferrari's argument for this arrangement is that because the block, instead of 90 degrees like this, is tilted even lower, it allows them to place the engine even lower, thus lowering its center of gravity. It gives more room for them to mount the turbochargers in the middle, which is the first time Ferrari has done it in any of their engines. The previous V8 turbos all had their turbochargers mounted outside the V, and they have the intake planets right on top. This one, the air intakes are outside the engine, whereas the turbos are in the middle between the V. So even though you imagine that the 120-degree bank angle may make for a wider engine, Ferrari has actually managed to make full use of the space in between the V to make for a compact engine. Now, the turbocharger itself, the compressor wheel and the turbo rotors are both made lighter, and therefore what this means is that in both turbos the rotational inertia is lower, and therefore it allows the turbo to spool up much faster and consequently improve on the car's throttle response to make it feel more natural. So it's a completely new engine, but the combustion chamber itself is based on the SF90's design, with centrally mounted spark plug and injectors squirting fuel at 350 bars of pressure. The specific output of this V6 is highest amongst currently produced engine. It makes 654 horsepower from just 3 liters of displacement. So the engine is paired with an electric motor with 122 kilowatts of output, 315 Newton meters of torque. The net system output of the engine and motor combined 818 horsepower. It is a simpler setup compared to what Ferrari has in the SF90 Stradale because there are no front-mounted motors. So it's just this engine, motor, gearbox, drives the rear wheels, that's it. But it does mean that the 8-speed DCT now actually has a physical reverse gear that was removed from the SF90 Stradale. Now, the 296 GTB has its own full EV mode. You can travel up to 25 kilometers per full charge and hit a top speed of 135 kilometers per hour on pure electricity. Now, the trickiest part in engineering a hybrid vehicle is always the integration between engine and motor. So Ferrari has what it calls a transition manager actuator. It is a triple plate dry clutch with integrated electronic controls and linkages with Ferrari's own in-house software to manage the interchange between electric, engine, or a combination of both. And the best part of this Ferrari claims is that it is a very compact design. It only adds 54.3 millimeters, so it's not much, of length to the overall engine and transmission assembly. Okay guys, so that's it for today's video. A quick summary of the new Ferrari 296 GTB. We don't know when this car is going to come to Malaysia, but hopefully when it does, the COVID-19 situation in our country will have improved tremendously and you will have the opportunity to check the car out in person. Okay, so until my next video guys, take care out there, stay safe. I'll see you again soon.
When I switched to Pro Mileage, in my case, I got 46-47% of savings for that car.
Pro Mileage was the only one that gave me 5,000 extra value to cover, yet still cheaper, a lot less. A lot
Turn
less.
up! If your bitch keep eyeing me, ride with them bars, alhamdulillah. Check you and me, into your job. Word is the name, been ballin' in the chain. Turn up for the watch, he plain Jane.